All right, so District 2 Sports Podcast, and we are continuing our high school football season preview. It's night. We hit up 29 North, and we're joined by the Altavista Colonels head ball coach, Coach Matt Deloach. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
I'm
This
great.
is season number 3.
Yes, sir.
I guess you can't complain about is it 22 wins in the first 2 years there at Altavista?
Yeah. We've been fortunate enough to be able to be successful. I know coming in, I guess wasn't the same, but some of the stuff that we put in, we implemented was very simple. Our offense is a very simple scheme. Our defense is very simple. I think just getting these guys flying around, I think has a lot to do with that. We've got great kids. They're great in the building, and they're obviously great on the football field as well. No, it's been fun. We've been blessed for sure.
Before we get too much into the Altavista Colonels, I did want to talk about your background into the game of football. You're from Charlotte, but moved up to the Lynchburg area as a kid, I think, and then played at Heritage and Jefferson Forest. Played a little quarterback from what I understood, and then kind of walked on there at Liberty University to do some long snapping. So if you can talk about your background into the game of football.
Yeah, I didn't really get involved in football until I was in high school. I played baseball most of my life. My grandfather was a good baseball player in Tennessee, in the eastern part of Tennessee. So I kind of stuck with that since that's what he did. And then moved up this way. A lot of my friends were playing football, so that's when I got involved. Played at Heritage, played at Jefferson Forest High School, walked on. It's funny. I actually got fired as a long snapper my freshman year. And whoever the coach was, I can't remember who it was. He was like, you're not a long snapper. Then all of a sudden I'm playing long snapper in college. So it's kind of an interesting journey. But yeah, I guess, playing journey, and I was competitive. I guess it's kind of the same way that I am as a football coach. That's kind of how I was as a player as well. So, but once again, surrounded by good guys, great teammates. So I definitely enjoyed it.
Any fond memories or games there at Liberty that you remember while you were there?
No, that was the 1 in 10 years. So you talking about LU? Yeah, that was the 1 in 10 years. So probably not very many of those. Yeah. No, and they brought a guy in from Florida A&M. This dude was huge, and I mean, I was decent, and this guy started slinging him back there, and I'm like, yeah. So, I only played 1 year, but it was a solid year. But I saw some legit competition. Even then, they struggled, but it's still Division I football, and I mean, week in and week out, you got guys that know exactly what they're doing. So it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, you've been at Altavista for a few years. We talked about this, I guess, as an assistant. You did some track and field or indoor track and field as well. What's kept you around the Altavista community, or what do you enjoy being there with your family and whatnot?
Yeah, got here. I came here from Appomattox. And it's funny, me being from Charlotte. We would go back home, and Altavista was really a passerby town. We had to go past it to get to Charlotte. So I never envisioned myself, coaching here, much less now, I live here. The community is great. There's incredible people here, and that's the thing. And it's funny, once you start winning, you can kind of see a lot of people love their football here. So I guess I got to keep winning in order for that to happen. But, like I said, this community is incredible. The school is incredible. I mean, we've got probably one of the best athletic directors, there is, and she supports me in pretty much anything and everything that I do. It's funny. I met my wife on the sideline. So she's a physical therapist. She runs the clinic, Rehab Associates. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. It's a physical therapy clinic. She was on our sideline, and how in the world, she liked me because I like to yell. If you've ever seen any of our games, and she was probably at first going like, "Who in the world is this guy?" But we're married. We've got a kid, and we've got another kid on the way. So I guess something worked. But no, this community is definitely great. It's been great to us, and it's been great to me as a coach as well.
I didn't know if Devin wanted to say anything about that. He's also a physical therapist as well.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I'm a full-time podcaster and just do a little bit of physical therapy on the side. Nah, just kidding. Opposite way around, but yeah, absolutely. Very familiar with Rehab Associates. Good company to work for, that's for sure.
No, it's solid, and it's funny. our quarterback, this past year, he was a sophomore, strong kid, big kid, and this is the type of person that she is. We've got doctors on our sideline and this and that, and he comes off the field and he's hurt. And, she said something to him that a football coach would say to their kid, stop being, and, he looked at her and he was like, yes, ma'am. And and then he went out and had one of the best games, he's ever had. So it's great to have her on our sideline. It's great to have her on my team. It's been a great run.
Well, Coach, looking at the past couple seasons, I think the first season you go 10-4. This is according to Max Prep, so it could be definitely wrong, but 10-4, state semifinal again, or state semifinal game, and then last year you go, I think 12-1, also make it to the state semifinal. Just make your thoughts on last year. You beat Gretna, a rival, of course, so that's a great win. They're up and coming as well. You took it to my Cavaliers and Devon's Wildcats last year. So thank you for that, I guess. But yeah, just want to get your thoughts on last year's team.
Yeah, it's funny. This just got brought up after our scrimmage. I think I tried to coach this team like last year's team, and I can't do that. And not saying that we're going to lower any kind of standards. The standards will always be high. That was a different group. They were with me the first year, and then obviously with me with the second year. And they bought into the system, that we put in place. And these guys, they just grinded. We had a back, LaDainian Stone. I don't know if you followed him or knew who he was. I think everybody knew who he was. And he was the offense that we put together pretty much highlighted him. But I will say, we found a hidden gem with our quarterback, because we read every play. I know a lot of coaches say that they read every play. We honestly do. And the way we do it is we kind of pretty much make the read easy for our quarterback. And with Cooper, taking over our offense week 2 full time when we played George with, it really got us going. So that was a fun group. They love playing football. They love playing with each other. I think the locker room was more enjoyable for me, just because those guys, they definitely enjoyed each other's presence. We kind of had you talk about family, a lot of coaches talk about family and culture and a brotherhood. That it was representative of that last year's team. And I was honestly blessed to be able to be around young men like that. We've got 2 of the guys are in college now, and, having young men like that, in my life to help shape me as a coach as well. I've definitely been blessed.
Coach, I just want to bring up, it's probably a sore subject, not for you at all, but for a couple of these podcasters that are joining me tonight. Sometimes, they can't see the trees for the forest, and, they don't see what single A football is all about sometimes, and know the importance, and just realize, and the kind of question I'm trying to get around to is, does your talent dictate your philosophy, or vice versa? Do you dictate to your talent what you're going to do? Is this, Altavista in my book over the years that I've known Altavista High School has been 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And I know last year was probably more like 7 yards in a cloud of dust. So just trying to figure out if that's something that you, implement every year.
And you're talking about scheme, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I called the offense for Don Rice when I was at Jefferson Forest High School. I don't know if you know that name. And I'm a flex bone guy. Like we went to some clinics, and, I really fell in love with the flex bone, and, that's the offense that I love. And then now we're running a pistol power offense. So yeah, I saw what we had, what we didn't have. I knew we needed to go simple when it came to offense, simple but effective. And, especially, and then, you go into the defensive side of the ball. I've been an I-man front guy for, quite some time, but we have speed. We have speed in every area, every facet of the game. So we pretty much put speed, at our defensive ends. We put it at our nose tackle. We obviously put it at our DBs, put it at our outside linebackers. So, just let these guys have fun and play and do what they do best. Just like you said, it's been ground and pound for Altavista for quite some time. Last year and in this year as well. But we got some guys, as soon as they break into the open, you're not going to catch them. We don't have the bruiser like we had with Ladanian, but we've got a lot of scat guys and we've got a lot of quick shift guys. But yeah, it's year to year. You really it's like this. I was looking at our JV, and I'm like, man, can we make this kid a tight end? Can we shift him because we run 2 tight set, and then I was like, we got more receivers. No, we're going to go to a more of a spread look on our JV, but run the same things that we run on our varsity. So we're going to adapt to what we have, and I think the kids enjoy that as well, because if I take a receiver that wants nothing to do with, what's going on in the box, he might not be playing for me long. So.
Well, let me ask you this, I'm not even pretend that I know the numbers, but, are you the coach that, I mean, if he's a 9th grader, he's going to play, or is he definitely a JV player? I mean, is that kind of way you look at it, or you going to put this guy where he belongs?
Oh yeah. So we had a kid last year. One of our guys got the defensive player of the year. His name was RJ Slayton. He was a sophomore, and he got it. And I'm not going to say the kid was talented. He was 100% talented, but we had another kid on the other side of the football. Ladanian Stone was our outside backer. So they wanted nothing to do with him, but not knowing that this kid right here was legit as well, and played well. But we had another kid inside of him, Khalil Clark. I don't know if you heard that name. He was a freshman, a man. I mean, he's an absolute man, and obviously he was not going to do anything on JV. He was not going to help us out on JV. He would have destroyed, individuals on JV, but not what we needed. If I feel like a kid is ready, mentally ready to go, he'll obviously play. I'm not the kind of coach that says, hey, you got to wait your turn. I've done that many a times as a coordinator, played a freshman over a senior. Single A is different. It's a lot of times it's by necessity, but what we've done here, we've got 47 varsity players, 9th through 12th graders on a single A school. And, that's pretty dang good. I think we're going to be able to run practices efficiently, and then get some guys some good looks. But no, yeah, I'd play a freshman if I felt like he was ready in a heartbeat.
What is it about that area that you can keep kids coming out? I mean, is it just the tradition? I mean, it just seems like you can find kids in that area that want to play. I mean, not only football, but basketball and baseball. I mean, Devin and Gregory both played basketball and at Chatham and Dan River. And wow, I mean, that program is just, upstanding in all sports, it seems like. So what's the secret up there?
Yes, I agree. It is. It's interesting. I came from, it's funny, when I went from JF to Appomattox, and then the first game that we played was at Buckingham. And I had never played at anything like everything that I've ever played at. Mostly had turf. They had one of the nice press boxes around, and then we go to Buckingham, and I'm like, yeah, I just hopped into a time machine. I mean, honestly, and I was like, what is this? But then I started kind of noticing. I was like, man, there's some legit talent here. And then I came to Altavista, and I'm from a big city, but Altavista is interesting. It's rural, but it has some like kind of not urban vibes, but it kind of has that. It's kind of a chip on its shoulder kind of a town, which I love, and no different than Dan River, and no different than Gretna, no different than Chatham. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but we need to work on is size. We've got a lot of speed. We've got a lot of athletes. We've got a lot of football players. We just got we hit the weight room a lot. That's one of our big emphasis. Yeah, you're right. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's an interesting area. Kind of loaded with talent.
While I'm dominating the conversation and letting these two sit back, I might as well hit you with one more. And we kind of talked about this, or you said a few things about it a few moments ago about that schedule. And one of the things that I've been impressed upon by Altavista themselves and some of the other single A schools is y'all will lace it up against anyone. I mean, it just seems like, it doesn't matter what class it is. You will lace it up and line up against anyone. And I think that's it's tremendous respect for you guys for doing that. And, I'm looking forward to this Lord Botetourt game this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. We have yet to win the game that we need to win. And I'm not going to put any names out there. I'm not going to throw any shade. That's just not who I am. But we've got to play these teams. We have to. It's it's not even a question of if it's a question we have to, we must. Just because it's going to battle test these guys because they're not going to their first really test, and not a slam on anybody, but their first real test was when we got deep in the playoffs. And then at that point, man, they kind of got punched in the because they were so used to being the guy that punched people in the mouth. And then all of a sudden, we punched somebody in the mouth and they kind of took it and smiled. It was different. It kind of shook our kids just a little bit. Yeah, the Botetourt game, it's funny. We go to camp with Botetourt at Ferrum. So, and, Coach Harless, he knows my mentor, Don Rice. And he was the first year he was like, yeah, we need to play. And I was like, and then, this past year I finally, gave in. But the thing about it is it's going to be a great game. It's two very similar programs, with just like you talked about tradition, but also with style of football. It's guys that are going to get after it, that enjoy the game and, they're going to fly around. So it's going to be a good game.
Well, Coach, I want to ask, we kind of talked about the talent a little bit earlier and, how you guys kind of, basically littered the whole, state, all state, 1A team that they released last year. Obviously you're losing guys like Braylon Smith and Stone, but you have younger guys who are also on that list: Jacorian Davis, Jamari Slayton, Christian Garvin, RJ Slayton, who you talked about, and then of course Khalil Clark, who just as a freshman, second team all state. So, how much of a luxury is it that these guys who were key contributors for you last year now have another year of experience under their belt? Obviously, they went very far last year, and then who are some other guys that can kind of step up for you this year?
Yeah, it's with Jamari, Christian, Jacorian, those guys, they've been doing it, since they were sophomores. They've been on our defensive backfield. So they know the deal, from the jump. I think they realize that now, they kind of look around, just like you said, hey, Braylon's not here. Hey, LaDainian's not here. TJ Robinson's not here. Guys that were really stalwarts, on both sides of the football. Yeah, and then they got to be like, hey, it's me. I'm the guy. Now I've got to step up. But like I said, man, I really do. I've got a different personality when it comes to football, a very different personality. We and this is like this is as legit as I can be. We go 45 minutes total, and we go Monday through Thursday in the summer. We go 45 minutes total of football, of actual install of football. We lift, we do leadership, where we kind of we go through a book study. We kind of teach their minds, and then we do a lot of conditioning, a lot of speed training. So we get their bodies ready, to take the punishment that they know that they're going to take later on in the year. Now it's early on in the year, and then hopefully later on in the year. So, having those guys just understand, the what we've put in place, the way that we go about it is great, and we've got some legit dudes, with Christian. He switched to running back last year, and he looks great. He's got a great first move, a great cut inside and outside. Jacorian is capable of breaking it anytime he touches the football, and that's at kick return. That's at running back. If you put him in space as a receiver, he's capable. Jamari, like I said, he's on the defensive side of the ball. That's what he does, and he leads our defense. And that's another thing I was talking about. Simple. I don't call anything on defense. Jamari calls our coverages. I don't mess with it because I want those guys to have that, be more of a cerebral, football player when it comes to breaking down what teams are trying to do to us. Cooper Brooks, he's going to be one that's going to step up. Jontez Lee is a sophomore. You haven't heard that name yet, but you will. You will. His favorite player is Tyreek Hill, and he plays like Tyreek Hill. So he's a sophomore. He's going to be pretty much electric in what we're trying to do with our offense. I won't tell you the plays that we're installing now. So, but you people will see it, and I hope they do, man. These guys love the game. They want to have fun, and I want them to have fun doing it. I know it's not necessarily fun to see, like what you said, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but it's fun to win. So, and
listen,
we do that very well.
I don't want to throw shade on anybody because I'm the kind of guy that feels like if you've got the team or a team to compete, you can compete on any level, And me and Devin happened to take in the I think it was the 5A state championship at Liberty this past year with Verina and oh my God, Phoebus, because Phoebus won their fourth straight, I believe it was.
No, it was four. Was the four?
I think it because they had all jackets that had three-peat, and I said they're gonna have to change their jackets now because it had four-peat now. I think that's right. I might be wrong. It was either the third or fourth. But we watched a man game that game. But the question I want to ask you right now is, what is the stigma against single A football? And like I said, if you got the team, you can play against anybody. So I'm just trying to figure out where that stigma comes from. I mean, it's almost like sometimes they treat single A football like 7-man football out in Colorado or something to that effect. I'm just trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah, I would love for them to watch Essex play any of their games. Honestly, go and watch Essex play any of their games. What Todd Jones is doing over there at the beach, I mean, it was a mirror. Like when we saw them the first year, my first year here. We went up to Essex. When we saw them, I mean, honestly, obviously they were an established program, but it was a mirror. It was a mirror of what we were trying to do. It's a chip. Like, so when you see a lot of those same teams are always there, it's a chip on your shoulder. And also I would love for someone to bring up some old tapes of this school, Altavista. And, we walk past those pictures, every day when we're in here, and I look at those teams. And, I coached in the Seminole for most of my career. I bet you those teams could have played against those teams in the Seminole. And I'm talking about probably did some damage to those teams in the Seminole. And that's no disrespect to the Seminole. And, yeah, it is. It's I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of had that as well. I came here and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so this is single A. This is different football. This is going to be lesser football. But I'm telling you, man, some of the guys like LaDainian Stone, who we had last year, that dude could have smoked some teams, and he was playing single A football. There's no reason why anybody should have that. If you're a true football coach and you really enjoy this game and you're doing it for the right reasons, that these kids, they need your drive, especially with a lot of things that we do, to get them to that level. We're about to go play legit. So we're going to play Central Lunenburg. That's a 2A school. We're playing Riverheads. That's a 1A school. Botetourt, that's a 3A school. And Blacksburg, that's a 4A school. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. And guess what? We're gonna strap it up and we're gonna go. I mean, because that's what our team is built to do. So,
well, I was kind of making sure that some people on this podcast understood how Big G had Altavista in the top 10 of the District 2 Sports Podcast, a poll for each week. So I just wanted to make sure I was getting some traction here. I was you were helping plead my case. So thank you, Coach.
I tell you, I don't think anybody like that first year. I think, when we played Appomattox and it was 56-16, I think that's when really people were kind of going like, oh, wait a second. And I still, even last year, I think people were still kind of going, they'll lose, in this, and then we were winning. And then, I still don't think they completely are sold, which is fine. I'm good with that.
Coach, be aware. He'll turn you in a second.
I was hurt as anybody was in that last law. I was hurt. I thought we had a state championship coming your way. That's what I thought.
I appreciate that.
Coach, we talked to Brett a couple weeks ago, but I want to talk to you about that too. You've been with that rivalry for a few years now. You guys have kind of swapped wins back and forth the last couple of years, home and away. If you could talk about what it means to be part of that rivalry and what that means to the community as well.
Sean, you spoke to Sean Miller. I mean, he's awesome. I love Sean. What he's doing with that program is incredible. And that's the thing. I realized very quick, that it's incredible to win. I enjoy winning. That's the reason why we do it. But we want to build better men. Especially with the state of what our world kind of looks like. They need to know that we have their backs and that we love them. And Sean, I can definitely see that in Sean, with what he's doing with that program. And, but the thing about it is, these right here, especially with our guys, so we don't allow these right here. we don't allow our guys to have their cell phones in the locker room. You know, we keep them pretty much away from that. But then when they get on them, and it's already coming, like, you know, it's a rivalry. You know, but, you know, back in the day when there was rivalries, you know, you went to their stadium, you know, you put like toothpicks on their field or something like that. Now the rivalries, man, they're sending these, oh, it's a Snapchat and it's this, that, and it could get ugly, man, quick. You know, but that last game, you know, with this past one, you know, I think it was the first time that we had beat Gretna at home since '96. Was that the stat? I think that was the stat, which is crazy to me. You know, but the thing about it is I think they realize, you know, because it was always a stigma, you know, where it's just like, oh, it's Gretna, you know, it's, you know, we're always second best to Gretna, you know, but it's as soon as the first snap, man, you know, we punched back, you know, and then I think they were like, okay, we're good. You know, we can push forward. But it's an incredible rivalry. I mean, and I really didn't really get to really enjoy it until these past 2 years, to be honest with you. And it's been fun. You know, we had this stadium was packed. I mean, it was packed, and it's going to be packed. It's the last game of the season this coming year. So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of people at Gretna.
While you're saying, you know, about your stadium being packed and stuff like that, what does it mean to you to have the following that you do? I mean, you know, I'm not trying to compare Altavista and Hoosiers by no means, but, you know, I see your guys pulling out in the bus, and then the guys, you know, the fans following you along to your, you know, away games and stuff like that. And reason why I'm saying something about this is I'm a GW guy, so I hope I can say this and not get, you know, murdered or anything like that. But I went to what I thought was going to be a top-ranked football game in the playoffs, GW versus Salem at George Washington High School. And I guess I might have been the only fan there because there was nobody in the stands for GW. I mean, it broke my heart. It really did, to see something like that. You know, even though I had to be, you know, neutral for the game and cover it for our podcast. But, you know, when you look over and see the visiting stands filled basically, and then you look at the home side and you're the number one ranked team in the region, something's wrong there. So I just think that you guys are on the right path, and your fans, you know, the following is awesome in my book.
Yeah, I bet you Salem brought like 3,000 people. Oh yeah, yeah. When I was when I was at Forest, Navy Jones senior year, and I'm up at the box, and I just keep seeing Salem people pile in, and I'm like, there has got to be 5,000 people at this game from Salem, and I mean that was, and then, you know, our fans are trying to yell, but Salem's fans are overtaking our fans, and I was like, yeah. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's, for us, yeah, we've got an incredible following. You know, we've got incredible fans. Like I said, this community, especially if you inject the football program back into it, they're gonna reciprocate. They're gonna come, and they're gonna show their support. And like I said, you know, our guys are having fun doing it. You know, and it's been fun to watch. You know, I've got the best seat in the house to see a lot of our playmakers make plays, and you know, the fans as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw or came to that Essex game. I mean, that was probably the most people I've seen at a game in a long time. I mean, it was packed, and that's the way it should be. I mean, honestly, you know, especially for these kids, you know, in a small town, that should be the event of the weekend, a high school football game.
Coach, I want to talk. Oh, go ahead, Devin.
So, Coach, I just want to add one more on my end, but just want to ask, what are the keys to success in this upcoming year? I mean, what is it going to take to, you know, to reach the state playoffs and hopefully get to that last game of the season?
Anybody like the movie Miracle? So, you know, we showed them a clip, and, you know, it was funny. I had a public speaking class at Liberty, and my final speech, or we had to give a speech, and I gave the Herb Brooks speech, you know, at the end of the where they're about to go play the Russians. And there was like some hockey guys in my classes, and they was like standing up like, man, let's go play some hockey, you know? And so I played that speech. This was during one of our summer practices. And, you know, at the end of it, he talks about, like at the end of the movie, he talks about believe. That's what he said. That was like what he had left. He said, believe. And I think these guys have got to understand they need to believe and know that they are doing what they are doing is for a reason. How they are going about it, there's a reason for it. Why are we scheduling, Riverheads? Why are we scheduling Botetourt? Why are we scheduling Blacksburg? Because we have to. It's not of where, hey, we're Altavista, we're going to schedule anybody and everybody. Give us a 5A school. I'm not saying that, but it's schools that I think that are going to give our guys the competition that they need to win the game that they have not won yet. That's the thing about this thing is we're fortunate, not fortunate, because I wish we were on the other side of it, but we're fortunate to lose to the same team in the same week, 2 years in a row. So now we can really see and look back and say, well, this is what we need to change. And I've been a mindset guy since I got here. The talent was always here. These kids are talented. They're incredible kids. They respect pretty much anything and everything that you want to do. It's just you got to have that mindset. When somebody is like Buffalo Gap, if you even watch that game, that was the first team that really gave us a punch right in our mouth. And at first, you kind of saw the guys were kind of like, wait a second. And then the grit came in. We talk about cultivating the grit and growing that. It's going to have to come from that. It's not football. It's not what we're doing scheme-wise. It's not the plays that we're installing. We haven't installed 2 of our series as of yet, and we've got a benefit game on Friday. It's not about that. It's about us cultivating the grit that it's going to take to push us past. And it's hard. It's hard. It's a long season. We've played 2 long seasons in a row. But I hope but it's been fun for these guys, and hopefully they see the benefits of what we're trying to do. If that answers your question.
I thought you had a question, Big Greg. Well, Coach, no, we do appreciate your time. We've been talking your ear off. We could probably talk for another couple hours too if you didn't have it all night. But we do appreciate it. 3rd season head coach there at Altavista, head of the Colonels, Coach Matt Deloach. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.